1.8 billion years ago, a comet hit the Earth and created what is now called the Sudbury Basin. Sudbury is most commonly known for being a mining town, but we've grown to be so much more. So this video is about how Sudbury has grown to become the largest city in Northern Ontario. I'm Tristan Ritchie from Lake City Realty, and this is a little bit of a different video. It's the history of Sudbury, and I'm kind of excited to make this because researching this, I've learned a lot myself about it. I knew it was a meteor that hit the Earth and created the basin, but a few of these other things I didn't know. So I'm looking forward to just chatting about it, but let's get right into it. So hundreds of years before the Europeans settled in here, this was the land of, and I'm gonna read this because I wanna pronounce it correctly and I still might mess it up, but bear with me, Atikameksheng and Anishinaabe. So those are the two colonies that were here. And then in 1883, over 3,000 Europeans came to this area to build the railroads. And they started building some small buildings while they were building the railroads, which eventually grew to end up being the Sudbury area and the city of Sudbury. And how it got the name Sudbury was the superintendent of the area, James Worthington. His wife was born in a city called Sudbury in England. So he decided to name this area Sudbury. The first industry of Sudbury was the timber trade. So they used to haul logs all over, cut them down, rich in forests, as we still pretty much are, until they started discovering the minerals in the ground, right? So the meteor obviously had an impact on that. Mining began in 1888. That's when the first smelters were formed, and most of Sudbury's population started being employed by the mines. By 1915, Sudbury was producing 80% of the world's nickel. And then in 1893, so before the 1900s, Sudbury was considered a town. And then in 1930, that's when we officially became a city. Throughout a bunch of the neighborhoods, you can see where they built the mining houses, and it's pretty cool to see, like the Donovan, Minnow Lake, Flour Mill, a little bit in Lively as well, close to some of the mines. And that's really cool to see. So until about the 1960s, we were known as basically just a mining town. And that's when it really changed. We introduced other industries like healthcare and schooling system and education. Now we're going from where most of the jobs were mining, where there's still a ton of mining jobs, but the percentage is a lot less. I'll get into it a little bit later. So part of Sudbury's history is a super stack, which was built in 1972. And that's the huge stack that you see in Sudbury in Coppercliff. And it's pretty cool to see, but it's not in use anymore. So they're actually thinking of tearing that down. So that was built to distribute all the toxins and the sulfurs from the mines at the time. I remember first moving here, you could actually smell it a little bit in the air when it was running in certain neighborhoods, depending where the wind was blowing. At the time, believe it or not, it was the tallest structure in the world right until the CN Tower was built. Pretty crazy to think about that right here in your very own Sudbury. Part of Sudbury's history, and I remember my parents talking about driving through Sudbury back before I was born, so 30 years ago, 35 years ago, and they were like, we're never moving here because it was all rock, black rocks, no trees, vegetation, and they're really outdoorsy people. So they started the regreening process, and since then, it has changed a ton. There's still a lot of rocks, which I actually love seeing them around, but we also have a lot of greens and vegetation now. They kind of figured out a way, scientists figured out a way to grow vegetation a little bit quicker than it normally would because it just wasn't taking before. I remember learning about that at Science North. So Sudbury experienced several population growths. The first one was in 1960 during the amalgamation, and then we grew a lot more in 1973 as well. And then in 2001, all the outskirts like Lively, Chelmsford, Azilda, Coniston, all amalgamated it into one, which we ended up with a population of 155. Now it is said that our population has grown in the last 20 years to 175, 180, and we're still growing. You can look at one of my past videos. We have all the signs that a city is about to blow up. So how do we become the hub of the North? We used to have 26,000 jobs here in Sudbury, Ontario in the mining industry for like miners basically working in the mine. As technology advanced, grew, more AI, things could take over. We're actually down to just about 3,000 jobs in the mines themselves. Obviously, there's a lot of subcontractors and businesses that do contracts for the mines, so it does end up being a little bit more than that. That's a significant drop of people directly in the mines. That's why we're the hub of the North, because we have so much more to offer now. So the healthcare, the education, and we're becoming the hub of technology. There's a lot of research institutes here like Snow Lab, a lot of science-based like Dynamic Earth, Science North are two huge attractions of Sudbury that people love to come visit for. Now we have 3 post-secondary institutions: Collège Boréal, which is a French college; Cambrian College, everyone knows that, in New Sudbury; and then we have Laurentian University as well. These schools attract people from all over the world, and we get a ton of people that want to go to the mining industry, of course, right? Because it's kind of the hub over here. There's tons of mining engineer, chemical engineering jobs. So many opportunities here in subcontractors, like I was saying before. So that's how we really become the hub of the North. We've got 3 main highways going to North Bay, Timmins, Sault Ste. Marie. So we're really that spot that people stop in before they go to Toronto. So our hospital, yeah, we have the hub of the North for that as well. So people from Sault Ste. Marie, North Bay, Timmins, they need a special surgery that they can't get there, they'll come to see us. And then kind of like we do when sometimes we need to go to Toronto if we need something special out there. So that is pretty cool. That's the history of Sudbury. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I help people generally buy and sell in Sudbury, so it doesn't have much to do with this, but I love Sudbury, our city, what it has to offer. If you're looking to move here, you can live the best life. Raising kids here is amazing. We have a perfect balance of nature and the biggest city in the North. So it's a perfect balance where you're not stuck in traffic all the time. You can get a house with a big lot for an affordable price, tons of benefits. So reach out if you have any questions.